There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded. No presidential administration has ever accepted the War Powers Act as constitutional. Not Republican presidents, not Democratic presidents. That said, we have followed the notification at 48 hours. We're here today. I've done more Gang of Eight briefings than I got in the 4 years that Biden was president and I was a member of the Gang of Eight. All of that said, we've complied with the law 100%, and we're going to continue to comply with it.
President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefing the Gang of Eight yesterday. Rubio telling reporters Iran absolutely posed an imminent threat to the United States. An all-Congress briefing scheduled for today, so we will continue to get more information. U.S. officials have now confirmed 6 American service members have lost their lives following Iran's retaliation for Operation Epic Fury. But the American military keeps up the mission. U.S. Central Command says American forces have destroyed the Islamic Revolutionary Guards' command and control facilities, along with key regime air defense systems. We've got new video to show you. It shows U.S. forces taking out 11 Iranian naval ships in the Gulf of Oman, eliminating Tehran's naval presence altogether in the area. All of this ahead of the Senate's vote on a war powers resolution today, which would restrict President Trump's authority over military use without congressional approval first. The House voting on their own version of the war powers resolution on Thursday. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Carlos Gimenez. He's a member of the House Armed Services and Homeland Securities Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. I want to get your thoughts on that. You just heard what Marco Rubio said, that the war powers resolution is arguably unconstitutional. Is it?
It could be. It could very well be. It could be infringing on the president's Article 2 powers. And so it's never been tested. The Supreme Court has always skirted around and never really given a clear yes or no on it. So it could very well be unconstitutional.
How will you vote?
Oh, no, I won't vote. I won't vote in favor of any resolution brought by Tom Massey on this. And so I am fully behind what the president is doing. And he is complying with the war powers resolution anyway. No, I won't be voting in favor of that. I think that we should be pressing harder. And I want to see regime change in Iran because I think that's the ultimate solution.
What do you want to see that to look like? We've spoken, obviously, with the man who pretty much has become the face of the opposition, which is Reza Pahlavi. But as I ask different people about whether or not it's him, there's a mixed review, questions about whether or not he has the support of the people. How do you want regime change? What do you want it to look like?
I want it to look like a democracy. That's look, the way to peace is through democracy. And so I want the Iranian people, I would love the Iranian people to rise up like the president has asked them to and throw these, this regime out. And then establish some kind of democracy that is friendly to the United States, friendly not only as an ally militarily, but also economically become a friend to the United States. And that would help the United States economically and also damage China severely. And so that's what I want to look. If there's not regime change, I don't think that really the job is done, because all we're going to do now is, we'll bomb them and we will strip away their ability to have a nuclear weapon for a while. But if this regime stays in power, we're going to be doing this again 5 years from now. And then who knows what kind of administration is going to be. Will it be an Obama? Will it be a Biden kind of administration that shows weakness and allows them to grow and allows them to, pursue a nuclear option? And so, no, I mean, the job needs to be finished. And the job means that we need a new governance in Iran different than what we have today.
Congressman, I want to get your take, given your role on armed services, I want to get your take on the weaponry on the field right now and whether or not we have cut into, for lack of a better word, meat and potatoes of our arms, our armament in America. And the idea that we are talking about a defense supplemental, is that going to be a main event to watch in the coming weeks? The president has been very clear. He wants a defense budget in 2027 of $1.5 trillion. What can we expect in terms of a defense supplemental? Is that going to be used as a compromise for the Democrats to open up the Department of Homeland Security, sir?
Well, look, we need to spend more on defense. I'm not sure that we can get to $1.5 trillion. Our current budget is about $1 trillion, so you're asking for a 50% increase. And so we're going to have to spend what we have to spend because the security of the United States is number one. And I know we're spending a lot on ordnance right now, so we got to get a handle on that one. How do we replace that with new and better weaponry and become much more agile in how we put new weaponry on the battlefield and help our warfighters? You know, we are the most lethal war-fighting machine in the world right now, but the Chinese are trying to catch up, and we want to make sure that they never catch up to us, that we're always ahead of them. And like I said, our security is number one. How much we're going to have to spend for that? Well, you know, I don't know if we can get to $1.5 trillion, but more than what we're spending right now.
But what about all of the resources that we're using right now? Are you worried about that cutting into our potential reserve is really what I'm asking.
Oh, no, absolutely. Look, the problem that we've had is our industrial base has not been able to produce the weapons at the rate that we think they should be producing. We're ramping that up now as we speak. What I like about what's happening now, since if we have air superiority, now we can go and start using things that aren't as sophisticated, aren't as expensive as say Tomahawk missiles, et cetera. We can use more dumber bombs, but still that that are smart in a sense, but they don't cost as much, and we have much more of that inventory.
Very, very good point. You mentioned China a moment ago, Congressman. China's foreign minister told his Iranian counterpart that Beijing supports Tehran in defending itself against the strikes. China reportedly urging the U.S. and Israel to immediately cease military operations. They claim they want to avoid any further escalation and prevent the conflict from spreading. You're a member of the House China Select Committee, and you know that right now we've got all of these Chinese companies trading on U.S. exchanges. And in effect, what are we doing? We are funding the expansion of our number one adversary. Your reaction to what you heard from the foreign minister there?
Well, they're very afraid that they're going to lose Iran as a military partner, but also as a trading partner, and so that's the problem that they have. They have hundreds of billions of dollars in exchange with Iran. If that switches over to the United States, it's going to hurt them economically tremendously. And so I've seen some plans from some Iranian dissidents that shifts the Iranian economy more into a U.S. centralized economy versus a Chinese economy. So that hurts the Chinese, and so that's why I also want to see regime change, because it's good for stability in the Middle East, but it's also good for the United States, and it hurts our number one adversary, which is China.
Yeah, and we've been talking about the China connection now for weeks. Do you want to see the Cuban leadership next?
Oh, absolutely. They should take heed of what President Trump said with Iran. They said, hey, you need to come to the negotiating table. He said the same thing about Cuba. If I were the Cuban leaders, I'd take notice. This is a president of action, not just of words.
Absolutely. Congressman, thank you very much. Congressman Carlos Gimenez joining us in Miami this morning. We'll be right back.